What up, brawlers? Welcome back to Throwin Hands. It's me, it's Toby. If you can't tell, your boy's a little under the weather.
We're
Low
both a
key,
little
Toby. Yeah,
congested right now, I feel like. A
Toby, I'm not
little,
gonna
little
lie.
sick.
If I'm sick, it better be COVID because I'm not. This better not be a waste of my time. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I
100%.
mean?
You could at least
Yeah,
build up a little immunity if it was COVID. And
exactly. So you got that 3-4 month window, whatever it is, right? To where
yeah,
you're definitely not gonna get it. I graduate December 16th. If I get it now,
you're good.
I'm a lock for graduation.
Yeah. No, it'd be best case scenario probably.
Best case, I swear, if this is just a cold, I'm not going to be happy. So I'm going to test over the next couple days. If it's a cold, I'm going to scream. But if it's COVID, your boy's chilling. I won't
Well,
mind that.
I guess I hope you have COVID then, which is a weird
I I,
sentence to say, but
I appreciate that. If you're immunocompromised, I really hope to God don't get COVID. I am a
yes.
stallion. You have to understand that, guys. I
Yes,
haven't been
absolutely.
sick since August of last year. So it was due. It was due. But you know what
Dude,
else is
same.
due?
Yeah.
You hadn't been sick in a while
Man, yeah,
either?
I rarely ever get sick. Yeah.
Same. Like ever since I started taking I thought guys, it's not like I'm unhealthy, okay? I'm Toby's seen me in person. I'm not
It's a healthy
uh
guy.
I'm
He
I'm
is
a
a
healthy guy.
stallion. I can
I am a
confirm that.
stallion. I'm 200 pounds, but I don't look 200 pounds. That's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. Once I started taking vitamins, man, I haven't gotten sick.
Yeah.
Your boy's just been pulling through. So, guys, take your vitamins. It's not a lie. You really won't you'll get sick less often if you take them.
Take your vitamins and eat healthy foods. That's what I do. I actually don't really take that many vitamins, but I get a lot of my vitamins and minerals just through my diet because I'm the type of guy that just eats handfuls of raw kale. So I would not recommend that for most people. I know that's kind of weird, but I personally really enjoy it. So
Yeah, even kale with just a little vinaigrette to add some taste. That's some
yeah,
good stuff. That's some
exactly.
good stuff.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, yeah. So, and eating bad every once in a while isn't a bad thing, guys. Just don't do it every day. Anyway, what's due Saturday is UFC Noche. Woo!
Yeah. Even though it's not in Mexico, which is weird, it's in Vegas, but it's a very Mexican themed card. So.
Yeah, lots of Mexicans on the card.
And don't they have like a special Mexican belt for Alexa Grasso now?
Yes, they do. Mortal Kombat. Ooh, free advertising for Mortal Kombat, guys.
I will say it looks pretty sick. Mortal Kombat, the newest one, came out today, I think.
Really? Okay. I haven't
Yeah,
seen any of it.
it looks good. And that belt looks kind of fire too, man. Not gonna
Yeah, well,
lie.
I'll find a picture of the belt so we can show you guys. But first fight, this card isn't great. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
say it. The
there's a
main and the co-main and Kopilov are all I'm looking forward to.
there's a lot of matchups on here where you're like, why is this person in a UFC fight? But you know,
Yeah. So we're getting over two prelim fights. First one, Tracy Cortez is back versus Jasmine Jesuda Vegas. This is the woman who shoot, I'm blanking. Like hops into Bisping's arms, right?
I think so. Or is that Vanessa Demopoulos?
That's Demopoulos.
Yeah,
Demopoulos.
yes, yes.
Demopoulos, yes. Tracy Cortez back after like a year or something. Year some
Yeah.
change. Yeah. 14 versus 15. Tracy Cortez coming back. I don't know what to think about this fight really. It's just top 15 flyweights, and that's why I'm kind of looking at it. I think Cortez has a large skill advantage over Jesuda Vegas personally, so that's why I'm going to take her.
Yeah, it's an interesting stylistic matchup. They pretty much have similar styles, similar game plans. I mean, they're both pretty dominant wrestlers. They're both pretty big for the weight class, very strong. Neither of them are particularly effective on the feet. I would say Cortez probably has a slight advantage, ever
Yeah.
so slight on the feet. I mean, yeah, Jazz Devicius is not a great striker by any means, but they're both, I'm pretty sure, undefeated in the UFC. They've the only thing I can say for sure about this fight, and maybe I'll jinx it now, but I think it's going to decision because neither of these women in their entire UFC career have it's all been decisions, I think. So, I mean, maybe in like their pro career, I think in their pro career, Cortez has like 8 decisions out of 11, maybe 9, and Vicious has like, 8 out of 10 or something.
Yeah,
So,
look at the numbers. Just look at that.
So I'm thinking this one goes to decision, but it should be interesting. It definitely has, implications for the division. I think they're both pretty solid prospects, but
Yeah.
I would also lean Tracy Cortez in this matchup. I think she's just a little bit better everywhere. I mean, they're pretty much the same fighter, and I think Tracy Cortez is just slightly better.
Yeah. I agree. All right. Our friend of the show, Josh Fremd, check out his interview when he was in LFA. He was mowing through people then. Going up against Roman Kopilov. As much as I love Josh Fremd, man, I don't think this is going to go well for him at all. I love Josh Fremd. Great guy. Very interesting dude. Pittsburgh guy. Um, but I think Roman Kopilov might demolish him. I think it's going to be pretty ugly.
Yeah, I mean Josh Frim, a lot of respect for the guy. Definitely had a good run through LFA. He, really tough dude. Has some good finishes in the UFC as well. It's just that he's running up against a very tough matchup. And you look at these numbers, and Josh Frim is a very tall guy for a middleweight, but he doesn't exactly use his length super well. And we saw in the Jamie Pickett fight, which was his last fight out, he did not look great. I mean, he could have used his length much better against Jamie Pickett. He should have been the much better striker in that matchup, and he did not look like it. I mean, Jamie Pickett, who is not a great fighter, in my opinion, was holding his own with Josh Fremd. And if you're going to a close decision with Jamie Pickett, I think Roman Kopilov is going to wreck you badly. Now, Roman Kopilov, he had some issues. First came to the UFC, lost his first two fights, got finished in one of them, I think by Roberson, and got dominated by Duraev. But this dude is a killer, man. His last three fights, each fight has been successively more impressive to me. I
And
mean,
violent.
I've mentioned this the last couple times that he's fought. I mean, this guy is quickly becoming one of my favorite fighters in the whole UFC. Just the techniques that he uses in the octagon. And one of my favorite things, I really just like guys that use body work in the UFC because not a lot of fighters, not as many as they should, target the body. Kopilov will wreck people to the body, and I am a huge fan of that. He does a great job of mixing in those kicks to the body and then working them up to the head. I think Kopilov gets it done. I think he can get a finish in this fight. I think this is a big, big spot for him. It's going to be a 4-fight win streak if he wins. I think this is a good matchup for him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that knockout against Ribeiro is violent.
And that was after he got hurt a little bit by
Yeah, you got
Claudio,
hurt a bit.
who's a big puncher. I mean, respect to him. And I feel like we have to mention too Daniel Lacerda fight before this. This guy 0-4 in the UFC, but the most exciting
Yeah,
0-4 you will
yeah.
ever see. I mean, he was putting a beating on oh man, what's that guy's name? Who's his last fight? CJ Vergara. He was
TJ
beating
Vergara.
he was beating the brakes off of CJ Vergara. He had him running around the octagon and somehow he survived and then he got finished. But you look at his fights, Victor Altamirano, very good fighter. Francisco Figueiredo, good fighter. Jeff Molina, very good fighter. Who, by the way, when is Jeff Molina coming back, man? I haven't seen that guy in forever.
I mean, he's tied up in the Kraus thing, man. We might not,
Oh yeah.
might not ever see him again,
Oh,
man.
dude, Jeff Molina's so talented, dude. I forgot about that. But
He's
that's
great.
really,
He's a phenomenal
dude,
fighter.
Jeff Molina could legitimately be like a top 10, top 5 fighter at
He's a
flyweight.
and he's young too. He's champ material, but
That's so sad. I forgot
he just
about that actually.
decided to have some fun with his buddy James Krause and bet on some fights.
Dang, man. Dang.
It's tea, guys. I'm sick, but this is more important than I'm very unselfish. Anyway, Fernando Padilla versus Kyle Nelson. We all know who Kyle Nelson is. We all know who he is. Fernando Padilla, young guy, very long for the division, 6'1". He fights at the end of his punches. That's a pretty good way to describe him. He's not gonna he's gonna use his 76-inch reach and keep you at bay. And if you watch the Julian Erosa fight, yeah, man, he's just always at the end of his punch. He knocked him out at the very end of his punches. Some people say it was early. Julian Erosa, friend of the show, love the guy, but that was a good stoppage by Tognoni. So I don't know. What do you think, Toby?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a tough one considering Padilla has 0-inch leg reach. I'm just kidding. Is that like you see that? Or
Yeah,
am
I
I
see it. I
no.
see
Imagine
it.
that. He just has like literally no legs. He's just walking, like hobbling around in the octagon. But no, I mean, seriously though, Padilla is a pretty good striker. He definitely has a few holes. He's hittable. I'm not sure the exact stats, but I know he gets hit pretty often. Even in the Arosa fight, he was getting touched up a little bit. But man, Arosa's a tough dude. And he has been known to get finished before. Like Arosa really is a kill or be killed type of
Yeah,
guy.
that's a great
So
way to put Julian Arosa.
yeah, I mean, he is the epitome of that. He can get finished or he will get a great finish. So but still, it's an impressive win. I mean, Arosa has fought some very high level guys and he's had pretty good success. Padilla, I think he's the better fighter in this matchup. He's definitely not as experienced as Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson's been in the UFC for a while, fought quite a few decent fighters. Um, he's not overly aggressive, not going to try to take your head off or anything, but he's
He's
tough.
very average.
Yeah, he's a super average guy, but he makes it work. I mean, had a good showing against Blake Builder. That Duho Choi fight was decent. I mean, it was close. A decent fight with Jai Herbert. I mean, these are good guys that he's fighting. So yeah, I think Nelson's tough. I mean, if there's one thing you can't take away from him, he's probably going to be in there. I don't know if this is going to be like an early finish or anything. I think he's going to be in there hanging tough, but I think Padilla is just more skilled. I think it's just a matter of will Padilla get tired as the fight goes on and will Nelson start to push the pace? If that happens, yeah, Nelson could win a decision or maybe even get a late finish, but I think Padilla is probably going to do enough on the feet to get it done.
Yeah, I feel the same way. That reach is going to be hard to get past.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, lightweight bout: Daniel Zellhuber versus Christos Yagos, another friend of the show. Check out that interview. It was like 3 years ago at this point, which is insane to me.
Dang.
But um, anyway, Zellhuber, he tends to not be active. Um, is that your dog man acting up a little bit?
Yeah, she is whining. There are people making noise outside. I'm sorry, she is whining a little bit.
Oh, she wants to go and play. But anyway,
Yes.
Zellhuber, he's not active. His last fight, I forget who was his last fight
Was
against.
it Lando? Lando Venata?
Lando Venata. He did beat Lando Venata, but against Ogden, not very active. I rewatched that fight right before this actually. And Christos Yagos goes in there with reckless abandon. He's like a Rosa, kill or be killed.
Yeah.
That's his MO. And you gotta respect it. This is tough for Zellhuber, man. Zellhuber's young. How old is he again? 23? Yeah, he's basically my age. So I think Christos Yagos might manhandle him a little bit. I think this is a pretty good plus 230 to bet on if you're a betting person. So I got my boy Christos. What do you think, man?
Yeah, this is a tough fight to pick. I think I see a lot of people saying like, "Oh, Zellhuber is going to destroy him," and I don't necessarily agree with that. I I would still lean Zellhuber just because I think he's pretty much better everywhere. He's definitely got the better striking. He's got a much longer reach. He's quite a bit taller than Yagos. His striking is just way cleaner. But the Ogden fight, ever since seeing him against Trey Ogden, I've been like, I don't know how much I can trust this guy in the octagon because that was abysmal. I mean, that performance was really, really bad by Daniel Zellhuber. And that was against a short notice Trey Ogden, who is much shorter and on paper has much worse striking. And he outstruck him. I mean, Zellhuber did not look good in that fight. So that's kind of always in the back of my mind. The last fight against Fanata, it was a good bounce back for him. He had Lando hurt pretty bad in that fight, but Lando is kind of washed, definitely near the end of his career. Yagos is a tough dude. Like you said, he is kill or be killed. So I think that'll actually play to the advantage of Zellhuber a little bit, where I think Yagos is going to be very aggressive. And we've seen him get finished several times in the UFC. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zellhuber gets a finish. But I think it's very similar to the fight we just broke down. If it gets into later rounds and Yagos is putting that pressure on, yeah, Zellhuber, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll have to see how his cardio holds up, especially under pressure from a guy like Christos Giagos. So I think it's a lot closer than people think, but I'm probably leaning Zellhuber.
Yeah, and the pressure and the experience that Yagos brings from, he's however long his UFC career has been. Let's take a look. He's been around a
Yeah,
while.
he's fought good guys for sure.
Yeah, he has. Like he lost to Charlie Olives. He lost to Gilbert Burns too.
Drakkar
Um,
Close. I mean, Drakkar Close is legit. Very good fighter.
yeah. Charles Oliveira is okay.
Yeah, yeah, he's decent.
Yeah, he's decent.
Moises, Thiago Moises, Sarukian. I mean,
This
you know,
this was they shouldn't have done this to him.
yeah, that's a rough matchup for sure. And then his last fight, I mean, he did get the KO. He sparked Ricky Glenn. So
Yeah, he sparked Ricky Glenn. I forgot about that. But yeah, Christos, great guy. Watch that interview. I don't. I have nothing against the kid himself, but Raul Rosas versus Terrence Mitchell, they're pushing this guy. I don't think he's anything that great right now. I think Terrence Mitchell beats him pretty badly. Everyone thought who was it that he lost to?
C-Rod, Christian Rodriguez.
Christian Rodriguez. And Christian Rodriguez isn't a bum. I'm not taking anything away from Christian
Yeah,
Rodriguez.
he's good.
He's very good. I'm not saying Terrence Mitchell's the cream of the crop. However, he's going up against a child. Therefore, I'm going to pick the man with a decent amount of skill. Terrence Mitchell's going to win this fight. I know it's not a very analytical take, but I don't care. That's just what's going to happen. What do you think is going to happen, Toby?
Man, I don't know, Terrence Mitchell, I wouldn't say he's overly skilled. He's got a good record, but he's from that Alaska FC promotion, which is like, not great. I mean, Jerry
Didn't
Cannonier,
Cannonier? Yeah.
yeah, Cannonier is from Alaska, but he's really the exception to the rule. Like a lot of those guys, it's just not a great level of
It's
competition.
on
And
Fight Pass, too.
yeah, yeah. I just think Mitchell is super aggressive. He's a grappler as well. I think that he's going to be coming out trying to grapple, trying to get these submissions, and I do think that Rosas will have the advantage there. I definitely understand like Rosas didn't look great in his last fight, but like you mentioned, I mean, C-Rod's good. Christian Rodriguez is not a bum. In fact, I think he's a pretty talented fighter. And Rosas, he went in there and he tried to get the submission. He won the first round. He just blew his gas tank really badly. And I think that's something that you learn as you gain more experience in the UFC, as you get more fights under your belt, is how to manage your gas tank and when to pursue the finish and when not to pursue the finish. So I think I'm not saying that Rosas has learned all these lessons in the span of like one fight. I just think that it was a good lesson for him to have that loss. And I think he'll probably bounce back in this one. It seems like a bit of a setup for him. The odds are crazy though. I think he's like minus 850 right now, which I definitely don't agree with. I think it's a lot closer of a fight than that. But I would probably lean Rosas in this one. I think he can be something pretty good in the UFC. I just think he's very, very young. So you never know.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see. All right. I've been waiting. Kevin Hahn, Jack Della Maddalena. This could be a fight night main event by itself, and I wouldn't complain.
It's a great fight. Probably the best fight on the whole card.
Yeah, probably it's 14 versus 13 in the welterweight division. Maddalena Hahn, respectively. I don't know how this goes, to be honest. This is a really close fight. I mean, Jack Della Maddalena has all the tools, as does Kevin Hahn. Kevin Hahn's defensive wrestling has gotten a hell of a lot better. And he's a Kevin Luter black belt. I said it. But Della Maddalena's they're both good everywhere. That's the thing. I don't know how this fight's going to go, Toby. I'll say whom I think is going to win after you speak, but it's going to be a close one. It's going to be fun, too.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth in this fight multiple times. I was leaning Holland, I was leaning JDM, and I'm not sure. I think I'm going to lean JDM, and I think I watched back his most recent fight with Basil Hafez, and look, that guy is no slouch. I mean, in the commentary they were talking about it. Justin Gaethje was talking this guy up, telling them that he's had wars with this guy in the gym. He is a really dominant wrestler, and for Jack Della Maddalena to get taken down in the first and the second round multiple times. Actually, I will say his takedown defense was actually much better than people remember. I think he stuffed like 13 of 16 takedowns in
Take a
that
look.
fight, maybe even more than that. But he got taken down a few times. He got controlled in that fight. But for him to get back up as many times as he did, and for him to eventually in that third round, I mean, he was beating up Basil. I mean, he was really, really destroying him in the third round. Like he put it on this guy. It was a 10-8 in my opinion. He had him on skates multiple times. He landed way more significant strikes than him. It wasn't even close. So I think that it was a pretty clear decision looking back at it for JDM. I know some people, I think people, it's a bit of recency bias, right? People say, like, well, it was a short notice fight. He was supposed to crush this guy. Well, Basil is a tough wrestler, and JDM was not training for that type of opponent.
Also,
Yeah, go ahead.
also, JDM had to cut weight twice in 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yep. Can't forget that. But, on the other side of the coin, man, Kevin Holland is a dog. He is a fantastic fighter. He's got great jujitsu. Of course, the striking is where he shines, but he's good everywhere except for, not great offensive wrestling. So I don't think his game plan is going to be like, oh, I'm just going to take this guy down. I really don't even know if he'd be capable of doing that. But I think if he hurts JDM maybe and JDM goes for takedowns, I think Kevin Holland will be a bit better than he used to be when it comes to defending takedowns, or at the very least be more active and effective off his back. But with Kevin Holland, I think the reason that I'm leaning towards JDM is just we never know with Kevin Holland, right? We saw in the Wonder Boy fight, he got Wonder Boy down and then he just let him back up and was like, no, I just want to stand and bang. You shouldn't have done that, Kevin. I get that you want it to be entertaining. You want to put on fights for the fans. But when you get top position in a UFC fight, you take top position. You hold that. I'm sorry, I don't care if it's Wonder Boy, I don't, whatever. You take that top position and you work from there. So I think Kevin Holland is too unpredictable, which has played in his favor. I mean, unpredictability has been great for him in the past. He's looked great at welterweight. He's finished tough guys like Michael Chiesa. He's finished Tim Means. He's finished Cowboy Oliveira. I think he's like 5-1 at welterweight or something like that. So he's been doing great. Don't get me wrong. And it finished Ponzi. I forgot about that. Man, I just think that, I don't know. I think JDM is such a clean boxer. I think he's got the skills to get this one done. I really just can't trust Holland, but I think it's gonna be a very fun, very close fight.
I think Kevin Holland gets done. I love Kevin Holland. I think it's probably part of it. But man, we'll talk about the welterweight division after this because this is ridiculous. No one's scheduled here. So we'll talk about that. But I think Kevin Holland wins this by submission, so we'll see what happens. This fight could go anywhere, anyway.
It could go either way, yeah, for sure.
Very fun fight. All right. The champ, Alexa Grasso. I'm pretty sure that's Zhang Weili's arm. Going up against Valentina Shevchenko. Like yeah, that has to be Zhang Weili's.
So weird.
They didn't even color correct it.
I know, it's like not even close to the same color. Not a lot of effort, UFC website, guys. Come on, what are we doing?
.com team, get on it.
Terrible.
Shout out to the .com team. Thanks for interviewing me a couple times. I appreciate it. No, I'm not even being facetious, guys. I appreciate it. You'll see my name in applications soon. But anyway, it's weird not seeing Shevchenko in the championship garb. Hold on. Just stop my share real quick. I'm gonna find some pictures of this new kit. But anyway, what's your thoughts on this one, man?
Man, this is another fight I've kind of gone back and forth on. I've rewatched their previous fight, and I don't know. I think it really could go either way. I think Valentina was a very dominant champion. I will give her that. But when you go back and you look at the people that she was fighting, Jessica Ai and Lauren Murphy and Andrade, and these people, they're not exactly the most skilled fighters, and her run does seem a little bit padded. And you see, she faced Tyler Santos and had the toughest fight of her career, and arguably lost that fight. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree that, or would conclude that she did lose that fight. And then she fights Grasso, who's on a 5-fight win streak, and she loses. She gets finished by Alexa Grasso. So Valentina, I think she's, 34, 35 years old now. She's had a dominant run, but these last couple fights have been very tough for her. And people will say like, well, it was a fluke. Okay. Grasso, Shevchenko spun into her. Grasso caught her, took the back, got the choke. Well, why did Valentina spin? The reason that Valentina spun for that back kick is because Grasso was pressuring her. Grasso was landing on her on the feet and forcing her up against the cage, making her uncomfortable, making her shoot takedowns. And Valentina threw that back kick. It's the same exact thing that happened to Chris Weidman when Luke Rockhold was fighting him. He was pressured. He was uncomfortable. He was shooting bad takedowns. He threw that kick. Rockhold caught it, took him down, beat him up. And Grasso did a very similar thing to Shevchenko. So I'm leaning towards Alexa Grasso in this fight. And this is no disrespect to Valentina. I really do appreciate what she's done in this division. I think she's very, very skilled. I just think Grasso has very good boxing. Her jiu-jitsu is obviously very high level. And she's been training with Lupi Godinez, who is a fantastic wrestler. So I think that if Valentina wants to come in and just wrestle again, take her down, get the control time, it's going to be much tougher than it was. And I think, looking back at the last fight, sure, Valentina got the takedowns, but what did she do with it? It's kind of like the Jan and O'Malley fight where, yeah, Jan got those takedowns, but he landed like 6 strikes, I think, when he was on top. So
Yeah.
Valentina, if she wants to do that, is going to have to be more active, land more damage. I just don't know if she'll be able to control her on the ground. So I'm leaning Grasso on this one, but it's tough, man. It's another close fight. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know this one either, man. Like, will Shevchenko's like mentality get the belt back, flood her judgment? You know what I mean? Like, and like cloud her judgment rather. My brain's cloudy, I guess. But I've seen Alexa Grasso fight in person, man. She's good. She's really good. And I don't think it was a fluke. My gut tells me Shevchenko might take the belt back, but it's going to be very close, and it's going to be a war.
I think it goes to decision for sure. I think that's something that I'm not certain of course, but I think that's pretty safe is that this fight's going to go the distance. And I do think it's going to be a back and forth battle for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be very close, guys. All right, new kits. Let's take a look at them. Ben the Bane Davis. Take a look at this.
I like it. I like it. I'm a fan.
The white is clean.
It looks very good.
Someone asked, why are there like scales on the kit? I'm like, dude, this is all you have to look at. It's all you have to look at.
Yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, Venom, kind of makes sense.
I mean,
I know I like the look. I like the, kind of little marks that they have on the shorts and kind of like scale looking marks there on the shorts too. So
they look great. I like them.
yeah, they look pretty good.
And then the chip garb.
That is a sick belt. It's kind of weird that they're doing it just for Gross. Like, I mean, I guess I get it because they're really trying to push the Mexico MMA scene. They've got like Moreno, Yair, Grasso now, so they really want to expand into Mexico. So it does make sense, and it is a nice belt. I mean, it's sick. I like it. So
Yeah, it's pretty cool. One thing we have to consider: no more African champs now.
yeah, true. That's crazy.
She's the last Mexican champ. Just saying. Just saying.
Dude, yikes. They should have done a UFC Africa while they had the chance. Ngannou's gone. Izzy, I mean, I don't know, dude. His last fight was awful. Usman's knees are destroyed. I don't know what he's going to be doing. So
Who knows?
we might not have an African champ for a while unless DDP comes through.
DDP!
Or if Mike Perry comes back and makes a UFC championship run.
Mike Perry. Oh, you and I were talking about this beforehand. Laura Sanko, fantastic job on commentary on Saturday. Props to her. She sounded great.
Yeah.
Like you and I have said, she's one of the better ones, I think, at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Laura Sanko is a very, very good commentator. I think she does a good job of talking her way through positions. I think that a lot of the other commentators are not quite as skilled at that. And I'm not, I mean, maybe it was just from her experience on the Contender Series. I'm not sure, but she's like Dominic Cruz in that way, where when two fighters are in a pretty complex position, whether it be in the clinch, whether it be on the ground, whatever, she's very good at talking her way through that. I think she jokes around well. That's a huge component of being a commentator, is just having that, flow with your fellow commentators. And she's really good at that. I think she's great. And I think she's much better than DC. I think she could replace a lot of people on the pay-per-view,
Yeah,
and I would be perfectly fine with that. In fact, I would prefer it to many of the other people that they have in there. So
yeah, for sure. I don't know if you saw this, but Australia took basically 50% of all the fighters' earnings in taxes.
really,
45%.
wow,
Mac Dessie's fight purse was about 60K. He went home with about 26.
dude, McDessie should have got that win bonus too, man. Robbery. No, I'm just kidding. It was a close fight, but I do think McDessie won, but it
Yeah,
could have gone
so
either way.
his initial purse was 58K. So whittled down by taxes, medical, airfare, and other expenses. His take home was just 28K.
That's rough, man. Going all the way to Australia. I mean, that is
The
terrible.
largest deduction was Australian government, which collects 45% of the purse.
Huh. What do they
That is
take? What do they take in the States typically? Do you know?
whatever the state taxes. It's not 45%.
Yeah, not typically. Yeah, probably not typically.
That's insane. Mike Perry's returning to BKFC on a new deal. That's fun.
That's the best move they could make. I mean, they should just make Mike Perry like the champion. I mean, he might already be a champion. I don't know how BKFC works, but just make him the face of the promotion, because
I mean, that's probably what they're doing.
yeah, it's a smart move.
Mike Perry.
Dude,
um,
there's so many fun fights to do with Mike Perry and BKFC now. Like just so
absolutely.
many fun fights.
Lots of fun fights. Um, what am I thinking of? Oh, Pat Miletich arrested on third drunk driving charge.
Wow. I heard that Pat Miletich was gonna fight somebody coming up soon. I heard he was gonna fight, who's that guy who came back to the UFC and got knocked out by like Pete Rodriguez or whatever? That guy he really sucks at fight. Like he's really terrible at fighting.
Uh, Pete Rodriguez. Oh, Mike Jackson.
Yeah, Mike Jackson. Yes, yes, yes.
Mike
I
Jackson.
heard that Mike Jackson was gonna fight Pat Miletich, and I was like, what?
Wait, hold up. Um, no, it's still on for October 14th against Mike Jackson.
Oh, really? That's
Yep,
such a
at Caged Aggression 36.
That's such a weird fight. And I mean, honestly, look, I love Pat Miletich, man. Anybody who's a newer fan of the sport may not be too familiar with Pat Miletich. This guy is a true legend in every sense of the word. Not only was he an incredible fighter, this guy, he was the first UFC welterweight champion, if my memory, I think actually it might have been
He is.
Carlos Newton, but he was, yeah, maybe the first UFC welterweight champion. I think he defended the belt at least 4 or 5 times. Not to mention, he was the primary coach of names such as Matt Hughes, Tim Sylvia, Robbie Lawler came out of that camp. Miletich Fighting Systems and Pat Miletich, incredible, man. All due respect to him, but he does get those. He qualifies for AARP, so I'm not. I don't think he should be in there fighting at the age of 55. I think he's a little bit too old, but I mean, honestly, he probably could beat Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson is terrible, so
And Mike Jackson's a bantamweight, I'm pretty sure.
yeah. So I mean, hey, I
Oh,
don't.
he's
I'm
a
cool with it.
welterweight rather, but he's quite skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost to Pete Rodriguez.
I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it.
Didn't Yusuf Zalal beat him too?
Yeah, probably. I mean, anybody who gets beat by Pete Rodriguez is automatically one of the worst fighters that's ever existed.
Hold on.
Because Pete Rodriguez is also a terrible fighter.
No, Yusuf Zalal beat Peter Barrett. That's right. Peter Barrett. Pete Rodriguez. I haven't thought of that name in ages.
I was only thinking of him because I watched JDM knock him out earlier.
Oh, he did. Dead Game. That's his name. Dead Game. Pete Rodriguez.
Wow. Here's something that's interesting. I see this fight in Combat FC 5, which is going on tomorrow. There's a guy who is a minus 2,000 favorite, Jan Oliveira.
Probably shouldn't make that fight.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they're doing it. I don't know who that is, but people are very confident that he's going to get the job done. Oh,
Um,
and by the way, if anybody likes promotions outside of the UFC, there are actually some really cool fights going on this weekend in Octagon 46. The main event, Jacinta Austin and Katharina Delizda is a cool fight. Austin is a really solid prospect. I think she's going to tear through Delizda. And then in KSW, that Polish promotion, they've got some awesome fights going on. The main event, I'm not going to bother pronouncing the names, but just look up KSW 86 and pronounce them however you will. But I think it's these two guys, they fought 3 times already. This is their 4th fight in the main event. So that's going to be sick. And then the dude in the co-main event, David Schmalowski, just look up his fights on YouTube. I mean, these guys are actually very good and they get into wars all the time. So if anybody wants
look,
to watch something outside of the UFC, I
guys, if
recommend
you
it.
want to watch juiced up people fight, just watch KSW.
Dude, yeah, so they are definitely juiced to the gills, and I respect it.
I love it.
It's a lot of entertainment, very fun for me. So
Um, Dana blasts Tito more. I mean, what do you expect?
yeah, nothing new there. He's been doing that for years.
It's one of the funniest beefs in MMA.
Yeah, man, it's interesting. And Tito, it's crazy too, because way back in the day, Tito used to be like the
He was the
golden boy of the
he was the
UFC.
guy.
He was the king, man. People forget that. People really do forget that Tito, up until those Chuck fights, Tito was the man. That guy was the face of the UFC.
Yeah.
When he was slamming down Elvis Sinishitz or whatever his name is, when he was beating up on Evan Tanner. I mean, this guy, he was good. Like he was actually a good fighter. But
Um,
then Chuck Liddell ruined him. And, they were training partners too. They were good friends. And Chuck Liddell said, "Nah, let me get that belt. I'm gonna take it." And he did.
he did. Um, oh, there's some Bellator. Hold on. Um,
Yeah, Saba Homasi's fighting. It's not this weekend, I don't think. I think it's next weekend, but
hold on, I gotta look it up. Bellator 301 was announced. Uh, Yaroslav Amos Amosov versus Jason Jackson for the welterweight belt. Sergio Pettis versus Patchy Mix for the bantamweight belt at 301
yeah,
in November.
that is such a good fight. Pettis and Mix.
You
Man.
got uh Sabatella versus Stotts too as well.
Oh, really? Wait, why are they doing that fight? Didn't Sabatello just lose? I could have sworn that he
Yeah,
lost his
he
last
just
fight.
lost.
What is he on, like a 2-fight losing streak?
Yeah.
I mean, all right. I guess if you want to do that fight, why not? But
Yeah, Sabatella is the definition of all bark and no bite.
it's like, yeah, Rafion Stotts lost his last fight too, but Patchy Mix is way better than Danny Sabatello. And when I say way, but I mean this guy is infinitely better than Danny Sabatello, Patchy Mix. So I'm not sure that the Stotts rematch is necessary. And you will look at that fight. People, if you want to look it up, it will say a split decision. That was not a
No, it
close fight.
wasn't.
That was 5 rounds to nothing for Rafion Stotts. It's like the Corey Sandhagen versus Cheeto split decision. It's on par. You know what's funny about that? If I remember correctly, the ref who scored the fight for Danny Sabatello actually is the same guy who scored the fight for Cheeto Vera.
Yes, he flew from Connecticut
It's
that day
it was the
to,
same night, yeah.
to Texas.
Yeah. Like, how do you drop 2 of the worst decisions in the history of the sport
Back
in
to
one
back.
day? Just back to back. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, crazy.
And the fact that they weren't just immediately like, you're never ever judging a fight ever again. That I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm getting tired, bro. Um, do you
Yeah.
got anything else to add?
No, that's pretty much it. I won't keep you on here too long. I know you're a little under the weather, so
Yeah. I'm glad we did this anyway. So
yeah.
yeah. All right, guys, that'll do it for Throwing Hands. You can catch us Tuesday for the review of UFC Noche. Adios.
Adios.